Thank you for joining us here at the PS4 Qualifiers. Finch joined by Gore Misers. We try and get our final 2 teams that are going to join everyone else who's already qualified. In fact, here in North America, we already have the Xbox Rejects and the 5 Deadly Sins who have already made it. So 2 more. Going to try and fill out those last 2 slots.
I feel like it's always exciting when you get to kind of watch these teams come through, a lot of them competing maybe for the first time or being able to form a team and test their mettle against these other teams.
Especially in a format like this, a lot of them playing through open brackets traditionally try and get here, but now we're in that league format, this round robin best of 1. Got to get used to it quick if you want to make it all the way through towards the end and be the ones that qualify, especially if you want to make it all the way to HRX, which is going to be at the end. And we are going to have the Console World Championship there, along with the PC World Championship. Paladins, I know you know a lot about in Paladins Console. Number 16th through 18th, go to hi-rezexpo.com and pick up those tickets.
It's going to be a fun event. There's going to be a lot going on. I'm excited because I know you guys are preparing, your stuff for this next coming LAN, but we've been doing our things on the Paladin side where we're just trying to make sure that we know all these teams. And there's a lot that I think has been leading up to, HRX.
That's right. It's going to be a great event. Not just multiple games from us, but you get to see a tons of other games are going to be there as well. But let's go ahead and focus in on what we got here right now. It's console in front of us. Let's get those standings up on the screen. Again, Group A from North America has already finished out. We're in Group B, the last group, the last 4 fighting for those last 2 spots. Xbox Rejects and Deadly Syndrome's already made it. So we'll see which of these 4 are going to be able to qual in.
I'm going to say it's hard to beat Xbox Rejects as a team name, but I feel like we have some fun ones here. Speedy Slugs is definitely one that I think is up there, but going through the matches today, it's going to be a lot, again, like you said, round robin, so you're going to be seeing these teams play multiple times.
That's exactly right. We're going to start off with Conquest Esports going into Speedy Slugs. Then after that, we'll have the other 2 members, Family Friendly and BM Esports. Then we'll have a chance to see those first matchups between the 2 winners and the 2 losers potentially going to the next matchup. So certainly it'll be an interesting chance to see how everyone's going to keep moving on as their records progress. 2 is really that magic number. Once you get there, you're in a good spot. But 3, if you can win all your matches, you are guaranteed through and make life really hard on everybody else.
That's probably, I guess your dream is the way to make it. So it's like, okay, I'm guaranteed. Everyone else is going to be having troubles. I don't have to worry about anything. And of course, that's what I think everybody comes into this wanting.
Yeah, you don't owe those other teams anything. Come in and try and win, right?
It's competition. You can't just mess around.
That's exactly right. I don't want to see any pausing the other team as a DC. I don't want to see any of that.
No sportsmanship.
We're here to win today. That's how I play. I'm not even joking. You're here to win.
After the game, get up and go turn off their consoles.
Well, I didn't say cheat.
I said after the game.
Oh, well, how does that help me then? It's after the game?
It's just like a final note.
Oh, I
lost.
see. Just like
you're not even allowed to play anymore.
A lot of sustain has been taken off the board by
taunting while you die to the fountain,
Is it like that?
Well, while your team kills the Titan. You have to kill the Titan too, otherwise it doesn't work.
Good old-fashioned BM, yeah. But a lot of sustain take off the board here from Slugs. The Aphrodite and the Chang'e have already been removed. Chang'e very strong here on console with those big circle unmissable abilities around her, and Aphrodite's just been kind of strong in general, so Slug is already removing those options.
And this is where I'm kind of curious to see how these teams kind of traverse this, because Chernobog, he has been relatively big pick. Zhang Kui has been big on the list, at least in terms of people who want to pick him up. But there are some picks, especially when you're in this kind of area, when you're coming out, especially when you're just trying to make a showing for yourself, you might have a god that other people don't think about as being that strong, that you are just phenomenal with.
Especially, best of 1, which is, I know, a term that Tom hates, that I love, best of 1, by the way. This is a chance you can bring out a little bit of jank, or even your own specialty, not necessarily jank, right? And catch your opponents potentially off guard. And that's going to be the plan here from Conquest. They want to catch Slugs off guard with quick rotations. Chernobog and Athena with that global presence. All of a sudden, you got a couple extra people in your team fight.
I'm really excited to see Hunbats. I feel like I haven't gotten to see him in a long time, and it's one of those things. His ult is obviously hugely impactful. It's just one of those things that throughout Smite, it has always been team-changing if you can get a good Fear No Evil. But you have Chernobog, you have Athena, now you have Zhang Kui. You've got a lot of big names that you have to kill on the other side, and 2 of them are relatively tanky.
Yeah, it's tough. No one on that team is going to be an easy target. Chernobog can go into that ultimate to avoid the Fear No Evil. Zhang Kui, even during it, is going to be relatively tanky, not going to be an easy target for him. But Unbat, he's been a very much contested pick here throughout the week on this PS4 qualifier. They really like his ultimate and what it can do for him in team fights.
And I feel like he's like the perfect assassin to have, especially when you're trying to find your way in. Like everyone else, you have to find a way to work around in the jungle. I think Hunbatz works no matter where you put him, and then, well, he has to go in the jungle, but he's going to work in the jungle with no matter the combination you have in the solo lane or who you have in mid. Like, he's going to be able to keep himself afloat no matter what.
He's often placed in A tiers and tier lists people put out, right? Just as sort of a good guy, solid. You know, just a solid pick that you can always take. As Slugs took an eye towards more sustain, while they really were concerned that Conquest was going to go with a heavy sustain draft. They banned the Ra as well, then the Nemesis. Conquest took an eye towards some Guardians, and that's why we see the Xing Chen coming out from Slugs with Athena already selected, and the Cerberus and the Ardo taken off the board. No Sylvanas? I thought that might be something that they might want to look at, but they want the Xing Chen instead.
I actually like the lineup. Again, there's a few things where it's like it's just off, I think, what you would normally expect.
Yes.
But Agni, Hunbatz, Xbalanque, all three of them do their role exactly the way they need to. They fit what they are supposed to do, Hunter, Mage, Assassin, whatever, perfectly.
Well, if they're going to leave this Odin up, then I like so far that they've gotten a lot of these gods with leaps. Now, Agni and Xbalanque are going to have some trouble otherwise by this last pick that's come in. That Ring should not have any trouble locking them in, should not have any trouble shutting off any extra healing, and then you got Discordia, Zhang Kui to follow up with some of that extra damage. I mean, that could be a nightmare.
And I think it's the perfect awkward number of people without leaps, right? Because you have to figure out, do we really want to invest in a Phantom? And already early on, you do see BestHades picks that up, so they are worried about that cage coming down, being able to escape it, either leap or just walk out. But that's one of those things that you pretty much just ruined one of their relics, maybe two if they decide to get another one late game.
They're kind of forced to go into this option just to make sure they're able to survive some of this pressure that's going to be coming out from SmiteVOD, as it looks like he's taking this Odin into the jungle. They're going to let Amateradesu. I'm going to probably not respect that and just say Amaterasu, but they're going to take the Zhang Kui over into the solo lane, and we'll see how well those end up playing.
I'm glad you moved on to that one as fast as you did, because I'm still stuck on MySweetPatato being such a fun name. As it is, though, I feel like he's going to be essential for Conquest. It's one of those things you don't necessarily have the strongest early game clear, I want to say, as compared to what you're going to see out of Hunbatz. I think he's going to have a much easier time in the jungle making that impact early on compared to where we see this Odin going.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a chance for that here. I have a lot to be riding on MENJA here on this Unbox to have some nice impact for them, especially once Fear No Evil comes out. His gank isn't the best, I feel like, pre-level 5. He doesn't have a ton of control. He doesn't have to slow on the jump. He can cover some distance with that monkey toss, but Odin can come in and just through burst damage alone has some early impact. So as soon as MENJA has that ult, he's going to need to make sure he's right there with him.
I'm also really curious as to how we're going to see Speedy Slugs deal with the duo lane. I mean, Athena, I want to say on her own, can do a ton in terms of impacting a 2v2. And the same thing goes for Chernobog. When it comes to clearing the lane, having control, he does a lot. You put them together, and it really does come down to the fact that you just have to play better, I want to say, from Speedy Slugs to make that difference or to even out that fight even.
We've seen it happen countless times here in the PS4 qualifier. When Unbox is able to hit those Fear No Evils and make sure their maximum impact, they can have a great start. But already, MENJA coming over, trying to defend these back camps. Looks like MySweetPatato was looking for the invade, had to jump away, but MENJA wants to follow. He's level 3, has the monkey toss to close the distance. Speed buff is on both of them as well. The jump should be coming back up here for MySweetPatato before too long, but the auto attacks are bringing him extremely low. The shield should come out. He'll have the blink available, and he makes it out.
That honestly is going to be a big win for MENJA, I want to say, overall, just because you get the blink. Now you don't have to worry about that. Granted, it should be back up by the time level 5 comes around, so it's not going to make as big of a difference, I think, in terms of ults, but as it is right now, you're going to be able to at least get aggressive, and that's exactly where he's going to go for the other speed buff.
Well, not too surprised to see MySweetPatato under a little bit of aggression there, as MENJA has done a great job chasing him out, but do want to make sure we go over this Speedy Slug roster here just a little bit for you. Definitely going to be recognizing some of these members here of this squad. BestHades, formerly the worst. Definitely someone you should recognize. JacobTask, of course, as well, has been someone that's been a part of the console scene for a long time. So the Speedy Slugs roster has a ton of experience at their disposal here, Gordon. I would not be surprised if they caused some problems for Conquest, but early on, MySweetPatato missed out on some farm because of that pressure MENJA had in the jungle. JacobTask was going to the solo lane and caused some problems.
And honestly, I'd say you could see
defended
the veteranship that you were talking about when it comes down to the fact that Conquest Esports have a solid lineup. I'd say the weakest part of their draft right now would be the Odin, and that's just because he hadn't hit his stride just yet. There's a certain point, once he hits mid-game, he's going to be comfortable again. But early on, I would give Conquest Esports the ability to get the lead, but you can see Speedy Slugs taking that control.
MENJA going in in aggressively onto the red buff, trying to strip this one away. That gets the ultimate out from LusTrouZ there in the middle lane and frees up space for Logically to come in and just to grab the red buff for himself and then fall back. I mean, this Speedy Slugs squad is already in a good position. LusTrouZ doesn't barely avoid being in a much worse situation as Logically ran out of mana there in the mid lane.
That was almost, I want to say almost a kill. Might have been able to turn into a little bit more, but at least pressure's out this Discordia to make it a lot more trouble. And MENJA right now, I mean, he's been taking this jungle. I don't think I have been seeing too much from SmiteVOD in terms of him actually being able to get the buff. I mean, the speed buff, the red buff, and those back harpies just then all go the way of MENJA. He's level 5, just sitting up ahead as of right now versus the Odin. But if he can continue that route, Odin eventually will just fall off.
He's had a great time. SmiteVOD tried to play aggressive earlier, again, trying to strip away those back camps there on the side of Speedy Slugs by the speed buff, but MENJA was right there to try and chase him back off of it. MENJA now level 5, has the Fear No Evil and has some good targets. If he can catch SmiteVOD, there's no beads for him to try and get away. Same for cojafox as well on the Athena. Beads is available for LusTrouZ, but he might not even need them. Logically hunts down SmiteVOD and finds the kill.
I love how aggressive he gets on that as well. It's just one of those things. Agni, I think, given, again, the right hands, can look like one of the best mages in the game, and I think that was exactly what you needed. You get that stun, and that changes the pace of the game. Granted, he also had a 2-level advantage, which I think kind of lend itself to getting all that damage down. But I mean, you're talking about putting a jungler behind. Now he's falling even further.
Yeah, this definitely is going to help the Speedy Slugs, and this is a problem if your Conquest Esports have let this already happen. Logically level 7 on the Agni, get off to such a good start here. Gore, I mean, this really could be potentially a nightmare for them later on. You really want this Discordia to be able to get to a position where she's comfortable, where she has that passive built up, either for the solo laner or for herself, and she's getting a little bit of extra damage, but instead, it's the mid lane and the jungle for Speedy Slugs that are already rocking.
So what I feel like we're going to have to see out of Conquest Esports is either some sort of equalization in the lead that Speedy Slugs have cultivated now, or they're going to have to play this game as long as they can go. There's going to be the Fear No Evil just to steal it off.
He is dropping to try and force Lus away from his own red buff. MENJA is retreating. Looks like he was able to strip that one away. So yeah, as you said, they were willing to commit a lot of resources just to try and limit their farm in the jungle.
Unfortunately, Discordia was able to pick that one up. So really throwing out Fear No Evil, not getting anything for it, not going to be as worthwhile overall. Yeah. But you are keeping the pressure down. I think Discordia right now is in that spot where they're not safe.
No, it's good that he was able to defend it, you're right, but I definitely like the idea from MENJA to look for it. Even though I didn't get it that time, definitely, you know, keep looking for those and trying to strip those away because it's netted them a lot so far to get things started as we follow along with Logically. He rushed this Bancroft's Talon right from the beginning of the game here, so I'm not surprised he's been playing aggressive. He's been building that way. Forgoes the Mage's Blessing or early stacking to get damage right away.
And it's just with the way the farm has been going, you're looking at a deficit in the jungle on the side of Conquest Esports, but because of that, it's given a little bit more free reign, I think, to Logically to get aggressive. He doesn't have to worry about this Odin ganking him. If he wants to fight, he can just push Discordia out, either under the tower, try to get a kill, go in, help assist with a speed buff steal or a red buff steal. Either way, you're getting a little bit more here and there, and that all adds up to the point where even if you're playing aggressive, as long as it warns you early on, you can spend that gold wherever you want.
Take some more damage from that rain fire in the middle lane. Logically really not allowing him to be comfortable, but you got to be careful. Looks like there might be a rotation coming over from cojafox in the jungle, but instead he's the one who has to be careful. He's meeting a level 9 Agni who does interrupt the dash charge. Now he gets knocked up. Whirlwind Array to Steal is only going to catch the Hunter instead. cojafox comes back in to try and find a little bit more support. Taunt comes out in Logically, but MENJA comes in with the Fear No Evil double kill and sends the Odin running for the hills.
And now looking to maybe find those last few hits, it looks like SmiteVOD with that speed buff will have just enough to stay alive and stay safe, especially with that root coming through. But that was just beautifully played. Logically gets enough poke down early on before he runs out of mana, and then MENJA just rotates in, saves not only the mid laner, but pressures out everyone on Conquest Esports.
They're now being the ones, the early aggressors from Conquest. Defender of Olympus comes out. Noob going to be in some trouble. Beats to avoid getting taunted back in. Axiom can't find the shots, but he is going to try and loop around. BestHades going to need to get her and block those, but not going to be able to save for MySweetPatato, who comes jumping in from the jungle, brings down Noob Poner without too much trouble. Logically wants to find the rain fire, but it's too little too late.
And much like I think you see, I want to say often in ranked games, not much you can do when there are 4 people rotating to your lane. Even a Xbalanque, even with a good dash, I don't know if you could get out of there. Now it's up to JacobTask to try and run away. Amateradesu trying to do whatever he can. Wow. Unfortunately, there's a MENJA.
Very nearly was a solo kill there for Amateradesu, but instead, MENJA rotates over as he's done all game long and is able to even things back up in his team's favor. The 2v1 goes JacobTask and MENJA's way. They bring Amateradesu down and send him back to base.
That name is just so easy to slip up.
What a name.
I don't want to add the D.
He's Ama.
Ama. That's a good name.
Well, that's what we call Amateradesu, but
yeah,
this person is very near it and making me waste my nicknames. Dunk comes after SmiteVOD, but he's unfortunately 3 levels behind. Lou's going to rotate in as well, but the cage essentially wasted at this point from SmiteVOD unless he just wanted to ward JacobTask off. They will not be caging this monkey, though.
That was one of those areas. MENJA was just low enough on mana that he might not have had the lead, but again, when you do have any mobility built into it, and of course, I mean, he's Hoonbats, he's fast. You have to be real sure of yourself when you're dropping that cage to make sure you lock him up. Now with the speed buff, I doubt MENJA's going to be too worried about it, and especially knowing it's down, that might put more pressure onto SmiteVOD, now falling 3 levels behind.
Maybe we should use Desu instead, because Ama might confuse people into thinking there's an Amaterasu in the game. What if we just call him Desu?
I'm glad you're as interested in the names as I am. I'm still I'm also stuck on MLG Noob Poner.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
That's like as console as he gets.
SmiteVOD might be dead, and he is. Jay logically deletes him, but yes, some of that noob poning is happening, but logically is the one doing it, despite the name for the Xbalanque play.
And going to be spotted out there, a minion following him from the lane, but doesn't really matter too much as he's able to walk away again. SmiteVOD's 3 levels behind not only the mid laner, but the jungler, the solo lane. He's level 8, which is on par with the duo lane. You'd think that's doing well, but honestly, he has just been losing experience left and right. He ends up getting caught out in fights like that just a couple times where you think maybe he can have some sort of impact, but there's no turnaround, there's no follow-up from his team versus everyone on Speedy Slugs ready for him.
Speedy Slugs has been playing really well, I feel like, as the jungle mid-pair in particular. We've seen BestHades be a part of some of this action as well, and those 3, when they're clicking like they are right now, they make this Speedy Slugs team look strong. Remember, for most of these teams, we don't know too much about them, how they're going to be playing, what their styles are, but that's not going to be the case here for Speedy Slugs. This is a squad with a ton of experience on it already, so I'm not surprised that they've been able to farm a little bit better, that they've recognized their power spikes better, or that they're working a little bit better as a unit. They've got experience from their time playing in other leagues, and they're bringing it right here, right now to the qualifiers.
And that's something that we've seen with a few other teams, I want to say, where they've either gone, you know, like from PC to Xbox, Xbox to PS4, wherever.
Sure.
And then you can move around. Once you learn, I want to say, those few like meta things, you can take buff fights just like this, and even if you lose the buff, it doesn't matter because you're winning the fight.
Desu is in some trouble now. He does have rotation coming in, but it's not going to matter. JacobTask brings Desu down. SmiteVOD drops the cage and then just has to leave. This level 12 Kukulkan is a bully at this point in the match. They can't hang.
JacobTask had just such a presence about him that SmiteVOD threw the cage down and then ran away from his own cage. He was trying to get aggressive. He was trying to help, again, save Desu over there on the Zhonghui, but it wasn't going to do a lot overall. And losing, again, the ult that I think could potentially end up giving your team at least an advantage in terms of what you have, a lot of control that you need for your mid lane to actually get that damage. It's just off the board.
Moving forward now is Axiom, trying to see if there's any way he can find any damage, but there's no way to save this red buff as Speedy Slugs continue their dominance of the opposing jungle, and it's netted for them a very confident lead. We can see those gold XP charts. Yeah, 4,500 gold as Speedy Slugs are in the front, 6,400 experience. That's a real problem this early on. We're only 12.5 minutes into this game.
And that's the number. I think if Gold Fury was coming through, it would make a little bit more difference. There's going to be the Whirlwind, Rage of Steel. We can also have Fear No Evil thrown out, but none of it going to connect. This Chernobog's just flying in the air.
And most of that experience deficit is in the jungle, where MENJA continues to control right around a 3-level lead here for Miser. And Dash Talk comes out from Koja. That is going to pull back in Noob Poner, who falls right back. Nothing to worry about yet, but it's actually BestHades who's taking a ton of damage. He has to jump away. Even with 3 members here, they still don't feel comfortable aggressing to Conquest. But logically, it's rotating in. A collapse could be on. SmiteVOD has that shield ticking, drops the cage, and jumps over the wall. Aggro's the Gold Fury, takes 2 swipes and the rain fire. JacobTask can't quite find the range. The strike's gonna be off the mark too, so Jay logically is able to dash right in and get the kill.
That was Speedy Slugs just cornering him. That was nothing more than, you can get away. They pop the Phantom, they leave the cage. They didn't even bother jumping over the wall, but taking those 2 hits from the Gold Fear, I think that really kind of solidifies it. Otherwise, maybe you can walk out of there, maybe you're still alive, you have just enough health that they might give you up. You're so low that it's just 1 ability, and now 1 Gold Fear.
And Gold Fear going the way of Speedy Slugs to make things even worse now for Conquest Esports. And I'm right there with you, Gore. I mean, What I feel like really happened there was just an out-rotation. It was Jay logically coming over the top side that really made that so problematic, because he was able to land the rain fire, able to dash to catch up for Flame Wave, and if it had just been sort of that 3v3 it was initially, and the collapse came through, maybe SmiteVOD could make it out, but the mid laner from Speedy Slugs getting there way faster than LusTrouZ was from Conquest.
And so far, that's probably been the biggest deficit for Conquest, is just they don't necessarily have a bad draft. Again, I think Odin overall is probably the weakest god that they've picked up just because of the lack of presence, I would say, it has against the Hunbats. But it's just been out of position a few times here and there, and it's caused such a deficit. You've lost buffs because of it, you get pushed out, you get poked away, and then MENJA just took over your jungle. For like 2 minutes, it was all for MENJA, and he was able to take everything, gives buff to his team to get leads all around, and now you're sitting at a point, it's 7-1, you're the only one with the kill on SmiteVOD, but you haven't been able to find much sense.
And Odin's one of those gods that can really exacerbate your deficit.
Yes.
You know, because he really needs to be able to have, you know, levels to be able to do his base damage, he needs to have items online to sort of help with his tankiness, and without that, he really doesn't bring much else aside from the cage, and he hasn't even really been able to get close enough to put the cage in the right positions so far, because MENJA and JLodi does such a good job bullying him out. As Pyromancer now being looked at, they do have some members around. Luke's gonna throw his hat in the ring with the unruly magic, but not good enough. Speedy Slugs secure the Pyromancer. They already got the Gold Fury earlier. They control all the neutral objectives.
Now, Fire Giant being the only one still available, they're actually in a position they probably won't look for it anytime too soon, as now they're actually looking for Xbalanque, but I don't know if they're going to have enough.
Well, they did recognize there's no jungler on this side of the map, so they can go in aggressive. Axiom looking for the auto attack trades, but he gets stunned, not quite inside the tower line, so he is going to be okay. But with the 2-man gank and 2 ultimates expended, or rather just the one from SmiteVOD, they cannot find the kill, and now Speedy Slugs are making the rotation.
I mean, coming right in, BestHades
they don't
has
realize.
probably the best setup, but they actually fall back. They're going to be looking for 2 different fights, because they're going to fear no evil in the middle, and they're going to be able to find at least 2 kills off of that.
They won both engagements, and Luz could be in some trouble too if he does not retreat. Has to drop the apple at his feet just to keep them at bay, but they end up losing Axiom in the duo lane in the jungle. Koja ends up falling as well. A bit of a nightmare for Conquest, as even in solo, Desu is pushed back under his tower by JacobTask.
Right now, I don't see JacobTask finding too big of a kill off of this, although he is going to be able to get aggressive, at least find a lot of poke, but the tower pressure and everything that Speedy Slugs got off that last engagement is going to be what it is. I mean, they took what would have been a 4v2 with a 2-man gank coming in and just split it into a 2v2s and won each one just by, we're going to get this pick. That's all we want. You use a couple ults, but honestly, it's going to be worthwhile. The control it gives you is immeasurable.
At this point, Speedy Slugs are kind of capable to do whatever they like on the map. ConquestEsports kind of fell behind after that rough early start, and as we said, they have some gods that definitely want to try and do well in the early game in the likes of this Odin in the jungle, and it wasn't able to get there. This Zhang Kui can certainly be a late game powerhouse, as can this Turnabog, but JacobTask doing such a good job of keeping Desu pinned down. This could be trouble though, as the rotation has come out for SmiteVOD. He does have the cage if they want to all in, but Thorns has deterred them. Or maybe not. Defender of Olympus signals they want to keep going. Blink into the jump, comes up for SmiteVOD, locked him down inside the cage. cojafox, a 3-man gank is enough to bring down JacobTask.
That was almost enough to actually deter Conquest Esports, though. They had to have that Defender of Olympus, Athena's presence, come through. And again, that would have been another 2v1 that if you walk away from that, you've expended so much just trying to get those. The cage worked well. You do use a few ults trying to get it. Even Chernobog went up into the air thinking maybe he needed to rotate. But you really only put your 2nd kill on the board. You have to start finding a little bit more when you expend that much.
They spent a lot. They did grab the tier 1 tower on solo, and it is going to slow JacobTask down a bit, which is much needed. He was level 16. He had become quite the bully, and up to that point, he hadn't even really rotated that much with his lead. He's kind of been using it just to keep Desu controlled in solo, so anything to slow him down should make their lives a little bit easier for Conquest, but at this point, Speedy Slugs are really free to do whatever they want. They're here for the red buff respawn. They're going to try and force down the tier 1 tower in mid without a minion wave, and now the rotation's coming in from Newtoner as well, and they should be able to grab this.
With a little bit of pressure, a little bit of tankiness, which is exactly what they have. You should be able to find this and at least give yourself that lead. You have 2 towers up on your opponent, Conquest Esports. That's going to be part of their gold deficit. Another part was the gold fear that went down earlier, which there might be another one if they can get a couple kills here.
MENJA very confident, holding onto his beads logically with the Rainfire, takes down the Athena. Fear no evil into the overhand smash to try and secure the red buff. MySweetPatato taking way more damage than he bargained for as he goes on a wild ride. MENJA does end up falling in a 1-for-1 trade support for jungler. Conquest managed to keep this one even for now, but the red buff was successfully stripped away. Logically going to pick that one up and fall back.
Being able to pick up a kill there is bigger for Conquest Esports, at least in terms of trying to equalize a little bit. The problem is now you're still trying to fight a 4v4. Well, actually, it's going to look more like a 3v4 overall, as long as you don't lose anybody, because you only have 3 members over here. Odin off on the right-hand side, looking at the Fire Giant pit. You could potentially have taken a Gold Fury there, but I like Speedy Slugs calling to play it safe. You already have a lead. Don't risk it over something that honestly is kind of small in comparison.
Yeah, you know, and I'm with you on playing it safe there, Gore, but there is also something we said for too safe, and maybe they didn't have enough vision to realize just how much control they had around that Gold Fury pit. But even if everyone was there, they're ahead. In a 4v4, it still favors them. But, you know, they're very patient. MENJA's been a great part of what's gone well for them so far, so they want him to be a part of their fights, and instead they don't go for that Gold Fury just yet. And you mentioned it, a 1v1 kind of favors Conquest. When you're behind, even really kind of favors you.
And even those small engagements, like what you just saw, Jay logically doesn't walk away with any kills, doesn't really get that much damage onto SweetPatato, but he walks away, getting rid of the blink. The beads were already down. You do have the cage up for Odin, but you don't think it's going to make that big of a difference.
Whoa,
and then you find kills like that.
Damage from this Agni is so much. The Soul Reaver proc was what did a lot of that work there, Goremizers. They end up bringing down Luz in the middle lane. Actually, the first goal for the Discordia, but no one going to contest this Gold Fury. Speedy Slugs have earned this map pressure that they have, and they've turned it into another objective, 6,700 gold. The experience has been very much normalized, only at 4,300 compared to, what, the 7,000 it was before, so that part at least is closer.
That's, I think, a big difference maker for Conquest Esports. If they can get that experience just a little bit lower, these fights are going to feel a lot closer for them. And they've been able to find those engagements. They've slowly been putting themselves in a position to potentially take down Speedy Slugs. But then you have something like this. Unless this steal comes through, I don't see Conquest putting up much of a fight.
With only the Athena here, there's really not much chance for that steal. Speedy Slugs are going to grab it. And as you said, allowing these objectives to keep going towards Speedy Slugs is making life that much harder on Conquest Esports as they continue to struggle in terms of golden experience. But looking at those charts kind of shows why Speedy Slugs might have been a little bit more cautious around that Gold Fury that first time around before they just regrouped and grabbed after getting LusTrouZ in the mid lane, is that a lot of their lead is on MENJA, at least experience-wise. Yeah. So without him, it is a much closer fight. So recognizing that, perhaps waiting on the Unbots to be there, and they're able to grab the Gold Fury, no trouble.
And you're slowly seeing SweetPatato close that gap. That's going to be a beautiful stun, though, immediately jumping in. That's a lot of damage into the Athena.
JacobTask ends up eating that golden apple of Discord, spreads it back towards logically just a bit, so he'll take some extra damage. And Athena's still alive, has Defender of Olympus, so as soon as she regains the fountain, can rejoin the fray immediately as SweetPatato drops down the cage. Fear no evil in the totem is going to push everybody back. He actually jumps straight up, straight down as Desu takes down logically very early on.
Shields right now doing wonders over for SweetPatato as he stays alive right now. Noob doing his best to try and win this 1v1, but it's not going to be a 1v1 for long, and that's going to be the ADC getting taken down. Now JacobTask, BestHades, kind of stranded as their team's gone.
This is a great fight for Conquest. They were able to find 3 kills for 0. Everybody's still standing. Importantly, Koja lives through that initial surge that happened in the mid lane. He's able to back Gore and then come back in with a Defender of Olympus. SweetPatato finds a great cage. Remember the apple that hit on the JacobTask and spread to logically as well? That extra bit of damage made this easier, and now Fire Giant should be going to Conquest. No one around from Speedy Slugs who can try and defend. This game has been Speedy Slugs for 22 minutes and 18 seconds, and now all of a sudden it's all Conquest.
And I have to give shoutouts to SweetPatato. One of the things he did there, that it wasn't even intentionally him, he gets so low. There's a point where he's getting bursted, but he jumps out, he pops his own shield. MENJA chases him. MENJA isolates himself around Conquest Esports trying to get that kill. He tunnel visions in so hard, isn't able to find it because that shield just gives him just enough health on the side of SweetPatato to live, and now you're dead in the water. You're left to the sharks. They kill you off, and your team starts falling one by one left and right to the point where JacobTask got away only because his mobility and BestHades because of his tankiness. They didn't care about them. They wanted the objectives.
That fight ends up going the way of Conquest Esports, and now with the Fire Giant, Goremizer, they can start trying to even up this match in a pretty big way. If they're able to grab a couple tier 2 towers, remember that's about 1,500 global gold each, they can really close this gap. It's only about 3,000. So now Speedy Slugs have to decide, is it worth defending on tier 2 towers if Conquest aggress score? Because if they allow them to take them for free, then their deficit's been erased. But if they fight on them, they might lose way more than they would otherwise. That's the tough decision that Speedy Slugs are now going to be faced with.
And Conquest have to approach that same kind of decision from the other side. How much do we want to commit to this tower? Where do we want to fight? Where do we want to put this pressure? Because if we misstep, if we put 2 people over here and we don't get the tower, we lose that fight, it's not worth it for us anymore. We lose our Fire Giant and the pressure and the gold. We need to keep this pressure up, and right now you can see 5-man commit on the left lane.
And that's what it's looking like. Speedy Slugs don't want to give up any more gold, any more map pressure for free. Not when they've been in control all game long. Axiom gonna drop the ultimate so that everybody gets slowed. Going in aggressively is BestHades. He's gonna pull back in cojafox, but already dunked on is logically loose. Finds a kill on a new opponent as well. 2 members already down. Taunt is gonna bring the Odin right back in. LusTrouZ with a double kill by taking down MENJA. Conquest Esports are barreling down the duo lane.
Right now, the Phoenix is the next one on the chopping block. BestHades left alone standing here. Has Kakulin joining him shortly, but honestly, you have to stay not only alive long enough for him to be there, but you have to do something. That Phoenix is gone.
They're going for end. They're going to try and go for the end. One play could potentially take a game of dominance away from Speedy Slugs. MySweetPatato jumps right on top of the Titan. JacobTask and BestHades, the only ones who can try and defend. Titan been brought down now to 6,000 HP, and the damage continues to rain in. Desu takes him down. JacobTask is still standing, but he gets decided. Conquest win the game over Speedy Slugs.
That counter was like 10-1 just a second ago. It ended at 12-11.
Wow. What a game.
They turned that on its head, and it was that ticking time bomb that is their lineup. They had 4 really, really strong gods and then an Odin that fell behind. Once level 20s hit, that experience doesn't matter anymore. It starts to equalize out a little bit. They won one big fight, and that turned that game for them.
It was that big 3-man wipe in the middle lane that really works for them, and I want to give a ton of credit to cojafox because him surviving the initial aggression was so important so he could Defender of Olympus back in. A great ultimate comes out from SmiteVOD as well with the cage that he ends up dropping that sets everything up. They grab the Fire Giant. They never look back from there.
It was just a lot of, you didn't die. And that's like all you needed. Like you get to one hit, they dump a lot of damage into you, but you got out. And that's what mattered the most of it again, because you got to see Athena come back into the fight. Odin got to get someone with tunnel vision. MENJA chases him down, surrounded by 4 people. You don't live through things like that.
Well, that's just our first game. With any luck, we can expect the rest of the games to be that exciting. Even with a ton of experience, Speedy Slugs weren't able to grab this one, but they still have plenty of chances. We're going to take a quick break and come right back with Game 2.